We must use our minds correctly. Why then, Geronda, do we often say that education is an advantage in the monastic life? Look, an educated person may take a work of the fathers and with only a little effort make great progress, because for him the text is easy to understand. An uneducated person, by contrast, especially if he is not pious, will have a hard time doing the same thing. In order to understand what he is reading, he will need to have lived a spiritual life and have some experience of divine things. By contrast, an educated person, provided that his mind works well and is not lost in theories, needs only a little effort to advance. I am not, however, suggesting that we should use our minds to probe the mysteries of God. In other words, Geronda, we should use our minds to combat our passions. Yes, and we should go beyond that and take notice of God's goodness. Look at the universe all around us and give Him thanks and praise for all that He has created. You see, it was Abraham that first sought God, and later it was God who sought Abraham. What do you mean? Abraham's father was a pagan, he worshipped idols. But Abraham saw the universe and he started wondering why his people were worshipping inanimate idols. So he put his mind to work. It's not possible, he thought, that these soulless things, these pieces of wood idols, are divine and creators of this universe. Who made the sky, the stars, and the sun? I must find the true God, and once I do, I will believe and worship only Him. Then God came and revealed Himself to Abraham and said, Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And He led him to Hebron and made him a beloved son. You see, an educated person will advance even without piety. Since he understands things with ease, the educated person, even without piety, needs but a little humility and a willingness to work in order to advance. The situation is similar to my having served in radio communications in the army. When I got there, I realized that some codes were written in English. Those who were educated and knew some English could understand them right away, but the rest of us had difficulty. The same was true of the theoretical subjects we were being taught. The educated among us understood them readily, because they had the right foundations, but the rest of us had to try harder. We must come to know the benefactions of God and appreciate what has been given to us. Why did God give us a mind? So that we may observe, examine, and study ourselves and everything around us. God did not make us intelligent so that we would spend our time figuring out the fastest means of transport from one country to another. He gave us a thinking mind because He wants us to be concerned with the most important thing: how to reach our true destination, how to get close to God, to our true country, paradise. Think of how many benefactions God did for the people of Israel, how many signs, how many marvelous deeds. But when Moses was late coming down from Mount Sinai with the tablets, the 10 Commandments, the people gave their gold to make a golden image of a calf and worship it. It's difficult to find people with that kind of mind these days, who would worship a calf. This is why we cannot justify an educated person who does not understand what is good. God gave us a mind so that we can find our Creator, but what the Europeans have done is to bewilder the human mind. They took God out of their lives, and now so many people are confused and going downhill. There are also those who have all the advantages in intellect, cleverness, and so on, to get ahead but do not pay attention to what you tell them. The moment you try to suggest something, they interrupt you. Yes, I understand, they say, and rush to complete your sentence. Among the many young men who come to the holy mountain, there are some who are very intelligent. It seems that they grasp everything you tell them, but all they really grasp is air because they are not paying attention. Those who are not as bright actually fare better because they listen carefully. They are prudent and wait to hear what you have to say next. In this way, they retain what they hear. Then there are those who understand a lot, collect pieces of advice from here and there, but in the end, do nothing at all with it. They scatter and waste the mind that God has given them. They are full of pride and don't allow the grace of God to overshadow them. By contrast, others who are not as bright truly humble themselves. I am not very smart, they tell me. Do you mind repeating what you just said? They try to put it into practice. Thus they are filled with divine grace and they succeed. A humble person is usually erudite, but an egoist who never humbles himself to ask questions has no knowledge. Saint Arsenios the Great was the most educated man in the Byzantine Empire. The Emperor Theodosius the Great had him tutor his children, Arcadius and Honorius. But when Saint Arsenios went to the desert to become a monk, he sat at the feet of Abba Macarius, who was illiterate. In fact, he used to say of Abba Macarius, "I don't even know the alphabet he speaks." Geronda, how can we avoid relying only on our minds to understand things? We must use our minds correctly. Our minds are to work on the marvelous things God have created. To find God, not to make our mind God. Those who are bright should also be spiritually advanced. One quick look and they should understand. When we use our minds for good, we can be of great help to others. Otherwise, an intelligent person can cause people great suffering. I can give you examples from lay people that I know. I once knew a little boy. He had 3 brothers, all very young. The children had lost their father and their mother got married again. The poor orphans never had any love either from their mother or their stepfather. So this little boy grew up and he opened a store and he started making a good living. One day he heard that someone had died and left behind 3 orphans. He felt compassion for the children and said to the widow, "Will you marry me and live with me like a sister to protect these children?" She accepted and now they are living a very spiritual life together, reading the lives of the saints and the Philokalia and visiting monasteries. They also have a spiritual father who guides them. This young man had the right thought and did the right thing, and he was blessed with divine grace. It could have been the opposite. The devil could have told him, "This is your chance to make these orphans suffer as you suffered when you were a child." He did not care to take revenge. He did not have malice. He retaliated with kindness. Some people use their minds for the good, to invent good things. Others, prompted by the devil, use their minds for destruction. We can see this in the case of Cain and Abel. Did God create Abel one way and Cain another? No. But Abel used the mind that God gave him in the right way. He thought, "God has given me an entire flock. How can I deny him a little lamb?" So he killed the best lamb he had and offered it as a sacrifice to God. What Cain offered by contrast was wheat mixed with straw. One of them offered to God the best lamb, the other little more than useless straw. Fine. Let's say that you do not want to give God a lamb. Give him at least some clean and pure wheat. Well, unfortunately, that's not what he did. He took wheat and straw and offered them as a sacrifice. Look at the 2 offerings, how different they are. God was pleased with Abel's sacrifice, so Cain became jealous and killed his brother. And then God took Abel to be with him in paradise, and Cain was left wandering in the woods like a wild beast. Of course, God gave the same freedom to both, but it was Abel who used it the right way.